Well, good morning. Good morning to you all across the world, and welcome to a few quality moments around the Shabbat table with the Rabbi's son. It is my pleasure to be with you again and share a little bit of this Sabbath day and our Sabbath journey, our Sabbath quest with you. Thank you for inviting me to join you and to be part of your quest and your journey. We are, as I said, on a quest. The reason we do these broadcasts, these podcasts, these live Facebook streaming and YouTube streaming, the reason we do all this is because we have a hunger building in us, a cry of our heart, a desire to pursue and know the Holy One the way He desires to be known, the Creator of the universe, the way He designed, without all the stilting, without all the posturing, without all the formalities, unnecessary formalities at least, of organized religion, just to find Him where He wants us to meet Him in His words. And His words in particular start at the beginning, and at the beginning is the Torah. So we spend every week about an hour or so of time on a quest, on a hunger pursuit, on a longing that we share together to know the Creator and to know what He wants from us, to know what He intends to do in us, with us, through us, how He wants to build His kingdom upon the earth, how He wants to redeem mankind as a species, bloodline by bloodline, and household by household, and individual by individual, as many as will come. Now He wants to restore all the terra firma of creation, all its species, and all of its locations, and all of every square inch of it to its original intended state of beauty and fruitfulness and shalom, like Eden. Well, that's what we want to find out. Where are we, and what do we need to lay aside? What do we need to put aside that hinders us in our search, in our quest for Him? So we seek to find the answers where they were given to us in the Torah, in the first five, the opening salvo of God speak, God revelation to mankind, where it all began, because in where it began, we can pick up and move into where we're going. So welcome again to a few quality moments around the Shabbat table with the Rabbi's son. We have begun a new segment of the quest, a new section of the Torah study. And last week with Parsha Vayikra, the 24th Parsha of Torah, we entered into the third, the middle Sefer, the middle book, the middle download. It's all at Sinai. Everything happens at Sinai. And we are being formed into a holy people. We are being taught why we were put on earth in the first place and what our mission with regard to the earth, with regard to the nations, with regard to the kingdom is. So this is a critical part of the download. Yes, it's next level detail. Yes, there are things about it that make us want to say, I just don't have the time or the energy to go there. And he says, but one day you will. One day, if you're not ready yet, one day you will be. Why don't you get a taste? Why don't we take a foretaste together of what He has planned for us all? This is the 25th week of the Parsha of the study, and this is the week of Parsha Tzav. In English, you'd say like the last two letters of Ritz or pizza. You hear this sound, and then you follow it with a and a v, Zav, and we'll talk about what that might mean. But it's the first basic word, main word, verb, at least in the parsha. Leviticus 6:8 through 8:36 is where we'll be looking. That's if you have English variations of your Bible. The numbering is a little bit different in the original Hebrew variations. But this is Parsha Tzav, the 25th Parsha of Torah. Welcome to this time at our table. This is going to be good, but we have to get ourselves ready for it. I'm telling you that Vayikra, this whole third book of the Torah, which starts out with "and He called," and became understood by us last week as His calling upon our lives, calling into intimacy, calling into meaning, calling into destiny, calling into purpose. So this calling, this book of calling, is our how-to manual for lovers of God. I'll say a how-to manual for lovers of God, for service, for those who seek Him, to seek to do His will. And this is lesson 2. Lesson 1 last week was Parsha Vayikra. I invite you, if you haven't done so, if you haven't listened to it again the last few days, go back and listen to it again, maybe when we're finished with this one, or maybe pause this now and go back and do it right now, because you need that foundation of lesson number 1 of the how-to manual for lovers of God. But we'll pick up where we are, and we'll try to make it self-sustaining. This is lesson 2, and I call it True Tone Stewardship, level 2. We introduced the idea of true tone, God speak, creator speak, as being true tone, creator script, creator calibration techniques, creator Elohim signature, creativity. All these things we talked about last week at the beginning of our discussions kind of set the tone for this week. True tone stewards. If we have the ability to hear, to receive and embrace true tone from heaven, like tuning a stringed instrument to the correct note, to the correct pitch, to the correct frequency. If we have the ability to tune into the true tone of heaven, then we need to have understanding of how to keep it once we get it. Once we get into true tone and we hear and we embrace that kedusha, that holiness that comes from that sweet spot of tuning to the Holy One and His voice and His words and His ways and His personality and His persona. Once we get to that place, which is where we want to be, right, for our quest, we need to learn how to keep it and how to help others to find it and keep it themselves. So this is True Tone Stewardship, level 2. I subtitled this particular discussion we're going to have around the Shabbat table today as Go. This is a paraphrase. This is actually a correct statement from Yeshua, the Messiah, in Matthew 10, chapter 6, or excuse me, Matthew chapter 10, verse 6, all the way through 8. He said some interesting things. He said, "Go to the lost sheep." He's talking to his Talmudim, those who he had taught true tone in his own ways. He says, "Now go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, of Beit Israel. Go to the lost sheep of Beit Israel." Remember, we're going to lost sheep. Everything we do is about going to lost sheep. Please don't forget that. That's our how-to manual for lovers of God. Must keep it in mind that if once we have come to the true tone, everything about our lives is about going to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And he says, and speak or declare to them, proclaim as you go the kingdom of heaven, Malkut HaShemayim. Is at hand, biyad, is available, is touch. You can touch it. It is present. The kingdom of heaven is present. And he says, he says, heal the sick. He says, he says, heal the sick. He says, cleanse the lepers. Some of this will sound familiar when we get a little bit further into this book. Heal the sick, those who are sick. Cleanse the lepers. Raise the dead. And then he says, cast out demons, for freely you have received. This is the key words. The sequence gets you there, but here's, freely you have received, he said to his disciples, to those who had found true tone. Freely you have received. Now, freely give. And that's level 2 of true tone stewardship. Learning to take what we have been given, what we have discovered in our quest, what we found, and then freely, graciously give it to others. And that's what Parsha Tzav, Leviticus 6:8 through 8:36, is all about. You see, the beachhead of heaven's invasion of earth has been established on earth. Wow. The tabernacle sits like a stage upon which we will play out and act out the passion play of heaven's redemptive, restorative story. His love affair with mankind, his peace on earth and goodwill toward men. It's there. It's right there in the center of our camp. The King of all kings is holding court again and receiving diplomatic visits from men, from human beings, for the first time since Adam was expelled from the garden. This is an amazing time. We are at the Sinai download. And the Sinai download is where we visit each year to go back to true tone. And if we look hard enough, if we stay and overcome some of the obstacles of our minds and our attention spans and our dislike of details, we can go back in this book, in this text. We can go back in this study and we can find true tone. And then what will we do with it? Kedusha energy, you see, flows in that true tone. The holiness energy, the energy that fuels the throne room of the Almighty God, the energy that causes the four living creatures to cry, holy, holy, holy. The energy, the pulsing energy that causes the 24 elders to fall on their faces and cast down their crowns and sing, worthy is the Lamb who was slain. This energy of heaven that causes everything that happens in heaven, that seraphim to fly and the cherubim to guard and all the things that they do, they're fueled by this energy of the magnificent presence of the Holy One and how he draws out of us all the things that he played, the potential he puts into us. Well, that's flowing in heaven. And now heaven is touching earth, and it is flowing through this portal of the tabernacle into us, into our camp. Divine speech is the medium he is using. He is creator speak is coming forth, and torrents is pouring over us and pouring out in torrents. And the torrents are forming for us in the camp of the redeemed, in the Sinaitic download, a river of life. And that river of life, oh, it's doing wonderful things in our midst. I hope it is in your life. I hope it is in your mind and your soul. Because what happened is the river of life, the divine speech that we're reading, that we're studying, that we're pursuing is renewing our minds. It is refreshing men's hearts. It is healing men's brokenness and all of its waste places. It is giving purpose and meaning to human life again. Marking human lives with the Elohim signature. This is my child. This is my beloved. And it is restoring our souls. Yes, divine speech, creator speech. This Kedusha download is what we're doing in this. We have found true tone. This is so good, isn't it? We realize it. We are so forgiven. We are so loved by our Creator. We are so renewed, restored, refreshed. We are so blessed. We are on the road to healing from all our traumas, the slings and arrows of our own individual and collective outrageous fortune. We're even healing from the bondages of the cruelty of slavery. We are coming out of it all. We're coming beyond it through the power of the true tone. It's not some self-help program. It's not some 12 steps procedure. It is the healing power of the download of Kedusha. The Creator speak. The true tone of heaven is healing us. We are so blessed. So, now what? What's next? If we have been blessed, if we have begun to receive and walk in this healing, what should we do with this? Where should we go now? Beloved, we still have much to learn. That's why we're still on this quest. We're only halfway through or less. We have much to learn about our Creator still, and about His plan and our involvement in that plan. And we have to learn how not only we can overcome, but we can help others to overcome the obstacles that have been presented, thrown up before us by reason of the fallen state of mankind. So here we are, approaching Leviticus chapter 6, 8, verse 8 through 36, the Parshat Tzav. And we realize that we are on this journey and we're in the midst of it. And the Korbanot discourse, the first critical download of this era when the tabernacle is in place and the era of Emmanuel is on. The God with us is on in the middle of our camp. And we realize that we are now being introduced to our service model. Our eternal service model is being presented to us in the second part of the Korbanot discourse in Parshat Tzav. Who is our service model? Who provides our service model? Aaron and his sons, the priests. So, a subtitle, I guess, if we want to talk about this a little time around the rabbi's son's Shabbat table, of our discussions about Parshat Tzav, a subtitle would be Heavenly Courtier and Kingdom Ambassador Calling, Approach, Communion, and Service Protocol. Heavenly Courtier, Kingdom Ambassador Calling, Approach, Service, and Communion Protocol. How to face and overcome and transcend the very real challenges of our fallenness. And then, once we have faced those things and begun to overcome and transcend them, even as we're in the process of it, to turn in gratitude and out of compassionate love for the Holy One and His creation, turn around and graciously help others to do the same. Show others the way. That's what Parshat Tzav is all about. It's the same 5 protocols of approach and healing that were mentioned last week. The Olam, the Mincha, the Shalom, the Hatat, and the Asham, the 5 main protocols of approach and healing that the Holy One has designed to fix mankind's basic problems. The same though, but now to look at them from the standpoint of being the one who administers them, the one who mediates them on behalf of others, the one who introduces others to them and calls other people and escorts other people through these protocols themselves, to take what we have given, been given, and freely give it away. Well, last week, in the parsha known as Vayikra, which was the opening section of the Korbanot discourse, the Holy One taught us critical lessons of kingdom calibration. And we thought about that from this perspective of ourselves individually and as families. How we ourselves could begin to heal. How our families could begin to be restored away from dysfunction and away from jealousy and criticism and anger and division. How we could overcome these things and how we could do it as a community and as clans. We thought about it from the standpoint of how we could get ourselves healed, how we could calibrate, how we could find and begin to flow in and be healed by true tone. That was last week's focus. This week's focus is slightly different. It's twisted about 90 degrees. Heaven's true tone now has come to earth, and we are experiencing it. And our job is to tune and calibrate the strings of our hearts and our minds and our wills and our emotions to its perfect pitch, and then turn around and release that over other people that are just as broken or more broken than we were, without revulsion, without a sense of superiority or hypocritical spirituality, in real ways to help other people to walk through the same journey to the true tone that we have walked. You see, the bread of life himself, Yeshua is the bread of life. He talks about himself being the bread of life. Well, he's left us a breadcrumb trail, and that breadcrumb trail is found in Leviticus 1 through 8. And this breadcrumb trail is a way to reconnect with the true tone, and thus with him. It's for us, it's for others. Last week, we learned that whatever character flaw or spiritual malady we see as being present in others and our fellow men is also present and wreaking havoc in and through us. We are drawn to it. We are revulsed by it because we know it is alive in us. And once we realize that, we do not jump into judgment and criticism so quickly. We don't condemn so quickly. We understand what is necessary is not condemnation, it's healing. What the Holy One desires, what his true tone is to give men an alternative to their brokenness. Well, that's what we realize. The Holy One sees what we do not until we get in true tone. When we're in true tone, we see what he sees. And what he sees is that all human beings, every one of us, man, woman, child, of all races, ethnicities, ages, age groups, national origins, tribes, tongues, and cultures, and languages, all men, all women, all children suffer from 5 gaping fissures of the soul. Since the fall, the 5 gaping fissures of the soul. 3 things have led to these 5 fissures. Ra, which is translated in English by the King James people as evil. Shakat, which is translated by the same translators as corruption. And Hamas, which is translated by the same translators as violence, can also be considered cruelty. These 3 things have created, over a course of time and over the course of us walking with them, around them, and in them, have created 5 gaping holes in our souls, every man's soul. And so with each person that we meet, or each person that we may come in contact with or see from a distance, it's just a matter of acuteness, how active the Rosh Hashanah Hamas is, and how much those gaping fissures are bleeding, and degree how badly they are stinking, how much harm they're causing. It's just a matter of acuteness and degree. And if we're going to be diplomats and ambassadors of the King operating in his courts, we're going to have to submit our 5 gaping holes to his inspection, his correction, his discipline, and his healing balm. And we're going to have to learn that that's what everybody else in our world needs as well. Not our condemnation or our opinion. They need his healing. We can be vessels of that. That is so good. Now, what are the 5 gaping fissures or oozing wounds I'm talking about? The 5 gaping fissures or open wounds in human souls that wreak havoc on every human being and every human relationship and every human community and every human environment. The first is the hole in the shalom. The hole in shalom. And it comes from having a unsurrendered self-will. The first thing everybody has to deal with is the fact that we have our own will that is independent of God. The moment we begin to take our will and turn it towards something else or someone else or some other agenda than God's will and his agenda and his plan and his calling and his persona, the moment we do that, we begin to shatter. Our shalom begins to fragment. We begin to have conflicting loyalties, conflicting agendas. We lose our sense of who we really are and why we're really here. So if you understand, you got to understand, self-will is the first and critical hole in our soul. Unsurrendered self-will. It's what happened in the garden. It's what happens every day whenever we do not surrender or we unsurrender our self-will from the Holy One. The cry of the heart of the Messiah was, I love to do your will. I delight to do your will. I come in the volume of the book to do your will. May your kingdom come. May your will be done on earth. Not my will, but yours be done. This is key step number 1 in fixing the 5 gaping fissures. The first hole is the unsurrendered self-will. And what it does to us is wreck our shalom. Then we are no longer vessels of shalom. The second hole in the soul of these 5 is a hole in our emunah, our faith, our trust of God, and our sense of walking with him and doing his work, and longing to see the results come about through his work, not ours. The hole in our emunah is caused by uncontrolled appetites and relationships with the material world, greed, avarice, jealousy, envy, all sorts of things about wanting to have more, wanting wealth, wanting power, wanting prestige, wanting things of this world, as opposed to wanting things the Holy One has designed to release into this world for other people and designed to create a pathway into the world to come. Longing for food, longing for drink, longing for comfort, longing for sensory sexual stimulation, longing for thrills, longing for excitements, longing for fun, whatever of this world we hunger for. That's an uncontrolled appetite, and it creates a hole in our soul, a hole in what's supposed to be a place of emunah, of trust, of walking in unity of purpose with the Holy One. So the hole in our shalom caused by unsurrendered self-will, the hole in our emunah created by uncontrolled appetites and approaches to physical, material things, the third hole in the soul. And we keep advancing. These are advancing, getting worse and worse as we go, building what's called a stronghold of Rosh Hashanah and Hamas in our lives. The hole in our soul leads to the hole in the emunah, and the hole in the emunah leads to the hole in our simcha, our joy, our sense of feeling the excitement of what God is doing, living, the thrill of living because of serving our Creator. The hole in our simcha is caused by out-of-control relationships, thoughts and speech and behavior in relation to other human beings. toxic fear, sadness, despair, jealous, all sorts of things that we turn toward people, not toward things this time, like we talked about last time, but think toward people. When we are offended, when we're outraged, when we're jealous, or when we're just in any way angry and upset and worried by people. We fret over evildoers, or we fret over not getting people to do what we want them to do, not being able to control them. This is the hole that creates a hole in our simcha, in our joy flow, the river of God that causes the rejoices the hearts of men. This is the hole in our simcha caused by out of control relational behaviors and thoughts and speech. And then the fourth hole in our soul is the hole in our relationship with the Torah, with his instruction manual. If the Holy One is brilliant, and he is, if the Holy One knows what's best for us, and he does, if the Holy One's way is for redemption and restoration, then why don't we join him? Why do we look at his words and distrust his words? Why do we deviate from his words? Why do we go in different directions and then leave his word unfulfilled, unacted upon? This navigational lostness, taking the words of the Holy One out of our priority list, and instead thinking we're going to be moral people, or we're going to do what we like or what we enjoy. We're going to make an impact upon the world for good because of our personality and our talents and our creativity. No, the key factor is to do what he said. I come in the volume of the book, Messiah would say, to do your will. Well, that's what anything that deviates from the Torah, from the instruction manual of the Holy One, creates a hole in our fear of the Holy One. And that fear, that reverence of the Holy One, is critical to everything he's called us to do. Well, that's the fourth hole in the soul. But there's a fifth. The fifth hole in the soul we've been addressing is the hole in our tikva, in our hope, in our sense of expectation of good. The hole in our tikva, and it's caused by absence from the Holy One's presence, distance from his true tone, deviation from his course that he's designed for us. It's lonely out there. It's scary out there. We get hard and crusty out there, and we feel things. Our emotions begin to go crazy out there in the desert without his presence. Shame hits us. Guilt hits us. Embarrassment hits us. We desire to hide and cover and withdraw and build up walls. This idea of separation anxiety that we displace. We try to cover it up with all sorts of things to make ourselves feel better and look better. But this is the hole in the tikva of our joy, of our hope and expectation for the good that comes to mankind and to the creation. And it's caused by deviating from his presence, just getting out of his presence and going and seeking fulfillment elsewhere. Whoa. Well, the Holy One knew that the toxic effects of these five fissures would wreck lives. They would wreck families. They would wreck communities. They would wreck ethnicities, whole nations. They would wreck cultures. They would wreck generations, and they would wreck his creation. So he designed into the Torah and designed into our hunger and this quest that we're on a pathway that would lead to redemption and restoration and fixing these fissures, then fixing and healing the toxic effects. He knows that they're like, and I hate to be gross, but pus discharges. That's what happens whenever these fissures, these holes in our soul, begin to get active, acute, and erupt all over people. They ooze junk, trash, Rosh Hashanah, Hamas stuff all over people, places, and things that we touch. We don't want to be that way. You don't want to be a toxic person. You don't want to do toxic things. Well, let's get this healing mechanism underway. So the Holy One designed a fix, an app for each of the five fissures in our souls. And he put it into the form of the tabernacle and into the steps that he put into the books of Leviticus, particularly the Korbanot Discourse and the Kedusha Discourse, which make up most of this book. Welcome to the healing rooms of the Creator of the universe. Welcome to healing light, healing color and imagery, healing beauty, healing sound, healing frequency, healing scent, healing taste, healing touch, all the things that we're going to encounter in the tabernacle, even healing people. People who have a capacity and ability to turn around and give away freely what they have received freely. All these are found in the tabernacle model. And these are something we're supposed to appropriate into our lives every day through our devotional protocols and our study protocols and our meditation protocols. Well, for each of these 5 holes in the soul, you see, he's provided a fix, a restoration protocol. And the 5 restoration or fix protocols or approach protocols the Holy One laid out in last week in part 1 of the Corporate Note Discourse was the first for the shalom deficiency caused by unsurrendered self-will. He provided the Olah protocol to come and fully surrender the self-will. That's what this is all about. You can do this without a tabernacle. You can do this without a brazen altar. You can do this without an animal. You can do this because we can do it with the fruit of our lips. And this picture that we're being drawn by the tabernacle studies is a picture that we should take seriously and incorporate into our lives. How can you incorporate this into your life? That's the real question. On this pursuit, on this seeking of the Holy One in his ways, what will he call you to do to surrender your self-will and do the Olah protocols, to cause your life and your will and your ways to ascend into the Holy One, which is what Olah means, to ascend. What ascent protocols? Who may ascend the hill of the Lord? What will it take for you to have clean hands and a pure heart? That's the message of the Olah protocol. And last week we learned the Olah protocol through the eyes of ones who are wanting to ascend, wanting that. Now we're going to look at them through the eyes of the priest who has said, I have gone that route. I have felt the wonder of being forgiven and being lifted up and taken to the heavenly realms. And I want that for my friends. And I will be a faithful servant, a tireless, selfless servant to help them to be able to do that. That's step 2 in the protocols. So after the Olah protocol for the shalom deficiency caused by unsurrendered will, he gave us the Mincha protocol for the difficulties we have arising out of unsurrendered view of material possessions. This is bringing forth, offering the first fruits, the best of our material possessions, and saying, okay, I trust you to provide what I need, daily bread, as opposed to me wanting riches and wealth and feeling I have to have these things because somebody else has them and I want them. That's the Mincha protocol. And then for the situation of our joy deficiency, which is caused by unsurrendered relationships and transactions and attitudes towards other people in our world, he gave us the Shalom protocol, the Shalom approach protocol, peace offering, as it's called in the King James Version. What a strange word. And the idea is we say, I choose to be at peace. I choose to have goodwill toward my fellow men. Though they may have harmed me, though they may have done wrong things, though there may be people to blame for many things, I choose to have your goodwill, Holy One, toward these people. And I give you thanks for the good relationships, and I pray for the restitution of the bad relationships and the interactions I've had. And I pray for healing and restitution in those regards. But this is how we do it. Yes, you can have a Shalom protocol. You need a Shalom protocol. As the Yeshua taught it, pray this: Father, forgive us our sins as we forgive those who trespass against us. This is the Shalom protocol in a few words. And then we have the 4th hole in the soul, which was caused by deviation from the Holy One's words, lack of appreciation of his words, the Yirat Adonai, the fear of the Holy One, the deficiency that we have because we don't absorb the power and focus on the energy of his words and don't walk in them. This is the Hatat protocol. And this is the one that says, okay, I want to bridge that gap between what your word says and what I have done and what I've thought and what I've said. Father, yes, forgive us for our sins as we forgive those who sinned against us. And then there is the 5th protocol to deal with the tikva deficiency that men have, which is a lack of hope an expectation, an excitement about God's plan in the world and what he's doing in the world, this Asham protocol is given to us. And the Asham protocol is saying that though I have fear, worry, anxiety, though I am depressed, anxious, I praise you, I honor you, I come to you and surrender all these feelings to you. I don't want to worship these feelings. I don't want to wallow in these feelings. I want to be a whole person who can see the good and see the potential in the creation and believe good things will happen, not doomsday, not the end of the world when the next eclipse comes or whatever may be done. So these are the 5 protocols of approach, and they represent the essential beginning steps that the Holy One is designed to help us fix the gaping fissures of our soul, where scar tissue and uncleanness have begun to build up. I want to make it clear, the actual physical Olah, Mincha, Shalem, Chatat, and Asham were never designed to completely fix the problem. They were only designed to provide us a pathway and a down payment on full surrender to the Holy One's will, alignment with his true tone and his course. That is just, if you understand, it's like a loan. If you make a down payment on the loan, that doesn't mean the loan's paid off. That just means you've begun the process of making a good faith step in that direction. That's what the Olah protocol, the Mincha protocol, the Shalom protocol, the Chatat, and the Asham protocol were made up. Now, last week we learned that what we thought was true from religion teaching us, that those offerings, those things that we brought, made atonement for us, or at least made kippur for us, which is what atonement in Hebrew means, kippur. At least made that for us. And what we find out when we actually read the text, we read the words the Creator speak that was given to us to define these things, to describe these things, what we find out is they were never intended to. They don't provide any comfort. It says that, and these things, as you do these things, as you make this down payment, the Kohen, the priest, will make kippur for you. Oh, there has to be an action by another party to make this happen. It isn't bringing the korban. It isn't that. It's instead the action done in good faith based on our good faith statement. Who is the priest? Well, we're going to see Aaron, but he's just a picture. He's just an image, a shadowy image reflecting someone to come. The actual priest, obviously, is Yeshua, our Messiah. Well, let us stop for a moment. We'll do our call to worship. And we'll get into our text for a little bit of Parshat Tzav. Bareku et Adonai ha-mevorach. Baruch Adonai ha-mevorach. Baruch Adonai ha-mevorach le'olam va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bakar banu mikol ha'amin v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Now I have actually mixed 3 different melodies in that because I really wanted to get your attention on this Baruch. Blessed is the Holy One who is the source of all blessings. Baruch Adonai Hamborach. Baruch Adonai Hamborach Le'olam va'ed. Blessed is the Holy One who is the source of all blessings forever and truth in all things. Baruch atah Adonai. Blessed are you, Holy One. Eloheinu melech haolam, King of the universe, of the age. Asher bakar banu mikol ha'amin, who has set us apart, who has chosen us from among all the peoples of the earth. V'natan lanu et Torah, and has given us, has appointed to us his Torah. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah. Blessed are you, O Holy One, giver, appointer of the Torah. So now, may you open our eyes, O Holy One, that we may see wondrous things in your Torah. For we are just strangers in this earth. So please do not hide your commandments from us. Context, context, context. The closing words of last week's Parsha Vayikra, were Vechiper alav ha-kohen lifnei Adonai. And then the Kohen, the priest, will make kippur for him, the one who brings the protocol, in the Holy One's presence. Not on earth, in the Holy One's presence. Yes, on earth, but no, not on earth. There was this communion between heaven and earth. The Kohen will make the kippur for him in the Holy One's presence. V'nishlach lo, and he will be forgiven. Do you understand the beauty of being forgiven? And he will be forgiven. V'nishlach lo. Al achat mikol asher ya'aseh le'ashmad, and for everything he has made or done or built, every stronghold that it brings guilt or shame into play, he will be forgiven. Kippur will be made for him by the Kohen, by the priest, in the Holy One's face or presence. That was how we ended last week. The summary of the whole idea of these korbanot, of these presentations we make, the down payments we make, is that it is taken as a token, as a down payment by someone to the Holy One, and kippur and forgiveness flow out of that. Well, that phrase, the kippur alav ha-kohen lifnei Adonai, the Kohen will make kippur for him in the presence or before the face of the Holy One. V'nishlach lo, and he will be forgiven. Oh, those words should be ringing over your souls. They are healing words. They are restoration protocols. They should bring you the healing of your shalom, the healing of your emunah, the healing of all the other aspects, the tikva, the all the different things. So anyway, so did you catch it? Have you caught the energy of this downflow? See, the korban itself, the flesh of the animal, the grain, none of that stuff that's brought brings kippur, or covering, or atonement, as the English likes to call it, for anyone or for anything. All this is the work of a Kohen, of a priest, of a diplomat, a kingdom diplomat, of a royal ambassador. Now, if you want to know how serious the Holy One is about this, the priest being the one who makes the kippur, the kippur, then I will just tell you that get your pencil and paper and write some of these verses down and go look them up. This same phrase, the Kohen will make the kippur in the Holy One's presence. This is not something that happens at the brazen altar. This happens through what happens at the brazen altar. Look at these passages. Leviticus 4:20, 26, 31, and 35. Leviticus 4:21, 26, 31, and 35. Leviticus 5, verse 6, 10, 13, 16, and 18. Leviticus 6, verse 7. Leviticus 12, verse 8. Leviticus 14, verse 18, 19, and 20. Leviticus 15, verses 15 and 30. Leviticus 16, verses 30 and 32. And that's just the beginning. That's just this download that we're in right now. It goes forward in the book of Numbers and in the book of Deuteronomy and throughout the prophets. And you understand, the priest makes the kippur in the presence of the Holy One when we bring the down payment. I hope you get it. So, now it is time for us to learn. And once we have been given things freely, the redemption, the restoration, the healing, the true tone of heaven, we are called to serve at the Holy One's table. There's a call going out for some humble servants. We may give our lives, donate our lives in order that others may experience the great love, the great joy, the great shalom, the great hope of the kingdom of heaven coming to earth. You see, we're not just called into our King's presence, or the tabernacle on earth, or his King's chambers in heaven, ought to be healed. We are called for that purpose, but not just for that purpose. That's just the beginning. Our healing is just the beginning. We're called into his chambers to be transformed into healers. Shall I repeat that for you? We're not just called into his chambers to be healed, though we are. We're called in his chambers, more importantly, so that we can be transformed into healers ourselves. So, now, we learn the patterns and protocols of selfless service. Next level, blessing to the families of the earth. The Holy One said to Avram, and you will be a blessing to every family, mishpacha, on the face of the earth. He repeated the promise to Yitzhak and Yaakov It comes down to us. This promise is part of the relationship we have, the calling we have with God. And now we're seeing how it works. The blessing to all families on the face of the earth comes through transmitting, freely giving to them what has been freely received by us. Extravagant giving is what we're called to. Extravagant giving of our life, extravagant giving of our peace, extravagant giving of our hope, of our love, and faithful, joyful, gracious service. You see, if mankind as a species is to be redeemed, bloodline by bloodline, household by household, and family by family, and individual by individual, as many as will come. And if creation as an ecosystem is to be restored to Edenic beauty and fruitfulness, shalom, and harmonious interaction, if that's going to happen, and it is, because that is the grand plan of the Holy One. If that's going to happen, though, there needs to be a lot of work done. And we need to join the Holy One, co-labor with the Holy One to do this. He's going to do the hard labor. All we do is just surrender ourselves and do what he tells us to do. The harvest is plenteous, but the laborers are few. And so, the call goes out. Humble, joyful, thankful, patient, faithful, willing-hearted servants, arise. This is your hour. This is your time. Come to the King's table. Come to the altar. And after you have been healed, turn around. Look at others through his eyes, through the 5 holes in their soul, and realize what is acting out most and what needs addressing first. Follow the protocols of the courts of the king. Follow his ways. Become as a priest in the tabernacle unto their lives. Selflessly serve. This will be your finest hour. Well, Shabbat Shalom. It's time for me to leave you now. I pray that you will have a beautiful Sabbath day and that you will study and meditate in these things, and you will indeed find and begin to radiate and exude true tone from heaven. And you will become a picture of what you're supposed to look like, how you were designed to be. Don't give up on this quest. Pursue it heartier and with more passion than you ever have. Blessings, blessings, and blessings. Let me know where you are, what's going on in your life, and if you have any questions, comments, or prayer requests. See you next week.